Nice to see everyone coming in here to get started. The way this is going to work is we're going to hang out and chat for a minute or two as some of the stragglers come in. We don't want anyone coming in late and missing the beginning. So we're going to hang out. If you want to turn on your video and say hi, that'd be amazing. We're glad so many people are joining us to cook with the amazing Chef Lee. So welcome, everyone.
Good. Is that too loud?
Sounds good. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Hi, Dick.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Anyone cook anything fun lately? Don't all speak at once. I mean, you know, it's you can share. This is a welcoming environment.
I have some catfish going in tonight that I caught a couple of weeks ago, so that should be fun.
Nice. Are you sous videing it, or are you frying it, or what do you got going?
I think these are thick enough I can do both. That's what I did last time. I cooked them at 132 for like 30 minutes and then let them sit out for a bit, gave them a quick breading and a quick pan fry. And that worked out really well.
Nice.
I did Chilean sea bass last week. It was delicious. I love doing Chilean sea bass. Vide.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the ugliest fish in the ocean, but one of the most delicate, or one of the highest end and
I think
delicious.
it's probably my favorite, I have to say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fred Larson says he is doing some lamb shank. Sounds really good.
Oh, lamb's also one of my favorite things to sous vide.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some lamb shanks on one of our first showcases that Connor Boffin did in Ireland, and oh my gosh, they look so good. I have a couple.
Hello, I'm on a virtual meeting.
And we will be monitoring the mute button as well. You can always unmute yourself. It's not a indication that you're talking too much. It's probably that you didn't realize you were unmuted. So might as well get started. I think most people are in here. It's nice to see a great turnout. So welcome and hi, I'm Jason Logston from Amazing Food Made Easy and president of the ISVA. And this is our second ISVA Champions Cookalong. I'm really excited to be doing these once a month right now. We had done a bunch of cookalongs at our virtual summits and people liked them. So we thought, hey, might as well do these to highlight some of our great members and give us something fun to do. Just cook along with some of our great talents that we have. And they are free to anyone in the Champions of Sous Vide Network, as well as access to more than 80 hours of sous vide demos, presentations, and other content. I can't believe we've done that much stuff over the last 3 years. And you can apply the cost of your ticket if you bought this separately to a yearly membership there. It covers, I think, about half the cost. So if you're interested in more great content, you can check that out. And if this is your first time joining us, you're not familiar with the ISVA, well, welcome. We love seeing new faces around here. We're a collaborative community of sous vide enthusiasts. We explore the technique, we learn from one another, and we network with like-minded individuals. Or as my co-founder, Mike Lashardi, likes to say, we try to make the world more delicious, one meal at a time. So the way this cook along works is I'm going to be emceeing, which means I start off talking and then you don't have to hear from me much after that. So don't worry. I'm going to be here reading the chat. I'm going to be bothering Chef Lee when she's trying to teach us her amazing dishes. And if people have comments or questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If you are running behind, if you want some clarification, if you have some interesting insights you want to share, drop them in the chat and I will interrupt her and ask what they are. That can keep it moving forward a little bit more easily rather than anyone chiming in. But let's test that out. So in the chat, say hi and let us know where you're coming from today. I love seeing where everyone is from. And as questions come up, you can, if you want to ask them yourself, just let me know in the chat and I will alert her that you have a question. You can unmute, you can come on video and get some FaceTime in front of the chef and ask your questions. We're going to be making an amazing looking dish, which I can't wait to see how it comes together. And it's from Chef Lee's incredible book, Made with Love. If you don't have a copy of the book, make sure you get one. It's an amazing book filled with beautiful photography, great recipes, and it's something that every sous vide or just cook in general should check out. It's pretty amazing. And if you already have a copy, go and review it on Amazon. Reviews are a big driver of sales, and it's an easy way to kind of give her an extra tip for a job well done. So enough from me now. Without further ado, today's star is a chef whose passions lovingly revolve around the culinary arts and the ocean. So with thanks to her sister that her eyes were open to a career on the high seas, sailing more than 250,000 miles in many of the world's most beautiful places on prestigious yachts and cooking for the rich and famous, all the while growing her skills, winning cooking competitions, and even writing a cookbook made with love. Her expertise in creating exquisite flavors and artistic presentations is renowned throughout the industry. So please unmute your mics and help me welcome today's star, Chef Elizabeth Lee.
Hello.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi. Jason,
Hi,
thank you so much
Elizabeth.
for the introduction.
Hi.
Hello.
Greatly appreciated. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Cookalong. I greatly appreciate it. And today we're going to be cooking sous vide filet mignon. And as instructed, I hope everyone has prepared their filet mignon and started to sous vide as already. I'm preparing mine at 57 degrees Celsius or 135 degrees Fahrenheit, which is medium rare. Has everyone started their sous vide, their filet mignon already? I hope so. Yay!
Be sure to drop in the chat and you can answer questions down there, and I will pass along if we're behind on anything. And I will keep Chef Lee in the loop.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So we'll begin with the reduction of the bordelaise sauce. And here I have 1 cup of dry red wine. I hope everyone's following along with the recipe, but let me know if, or Jason, know if you're not. In the red wine, we'll add our shallot, 1 shallot, as well as a bay leaf and thyme. Now here I have an induction stovetop that I will start to simmer, and I'll reduce this to 1/4. There we go. So we're beginning the reduction here. And as well, now we'll start our pomme puree. Anyone let me know if I'm going too fast? In the recipe, I instructed you to cut the potatoes in advance. They're cut into a 1/4 inch dice. So I'm just going to drain the potatoes, get rid of a little bit of extra starch that might have settled in the bottom of the bowl.
In the recipe, you had said preferably russet or Yukon Gold. What was the reason for those two?
Well, they have a nice quantity of starch. So when we go to rice the potatoes, it really creates a nice fluffy aerated potato when we're making the pomme puree. They're ideal to use.
Awesome.
So I have the potatoes I'm going to add to my pot, and then I'm going to add enough cold water just to cover the potatoes. Here I'll add 1 tablespoon of salt. I want to season the water so it seasons the potatoes naturally. And that's per 1/4 of water, which is 4 cups. So I'll go ahead and bring these to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, I just drop it down to a medium high, a little bit of a simmer so they don't boil over. Right. And now we can begin preparing the asparagus for the dish. Now I have 24 asparagus spears here. Because we just did a serving of 4, I usually do about 6 spears per serving. But you can use as many as you like, of course. Now, when you harvest the asparagus, it starts to turn fibrous at the bottom. So if you want to know where the fiber starts, you can just lightly bend the asparagus, and where it snaps, this is where the fibrous end finishes, yeah. So that's a neat trick to do with your asparagus. And what you can do for prepping, I usually cut them straight. Or for a little bit nicer visual appeal, you can cut on the bias, as you see here. I also like to, if I have a little bit of a larger asparagus, I like to peel just the skin off lightly and cut on the bias. This adds a really nice visual appeal to the dish. So we'll go ahead and just trim all of our asparagus. Please let me know if I'm going too quickly for anyone.
You mentioned that you normally do portions of 4 to 6. How many people are on the yacht when you normally are cooking?
I actually have 6 that are on board the yacht that I'm currently working on. And then we have 3 crew on board as well. But normally it's usually 8-pack. 6 to 10, 8. But I did the portions in the cookbook for either 4 or 6, just so you could also double it if you liked.
Does the crew get the good food too, or do they get like the bottoms of the asparagus like boiled down till they're soft?
Good food as well. My crew eat very well. And I have an asparagus here. I'll just show you how I go ahead and peel the skin off. I like to turn a plate over. It elevates it and it'll keep the asparagus from breaking. And just like so.
Now I know how not to scuff my knuckles, which I always do.
Or break them. They always break. And then I count them out perfectly and I end up having 2 or 3 and I break. It drives me crazy. So that's a good tip. And while I'm preparing these, I'll actually start to boil the water because we're going to blanch the asparagus for 1 minute.
When you're out in the Bahamas, where do you source your asparagus from?
We actually have really good produce in the Bahamas. There's a lot of purveyors, which are a lot of farmers that actually live on the island. But we also get everything from the United States. So it's because we're so close, it's really easy for us. In the Caribbean, it's a little bit of a different story. Everything has to fly in, so the commodity is not as readily available, unfortunately. I'm just gonna put the asparagus here. We're gonna blanch those. And save these for stocks or sauces or soups. And you'll want to keep checking your bordelaise sauce. The reduction here.
When you're checking it, what are you looking for? Like the thickness or viscosity of it?
Or how much it's reduced. So we're going to reduce this to 1/4 of a cup or 1/4 of the original volume, which is 1 cup of red wine. So we just want to, I know visually how much 1/4 of a cup is just because I'm chef, I guess. But you can also have a measuring cup right next to you. And if you want to pour it into the measuring cup just to keep checking, that's a good way to know how much it's also reducing. And then once you get to know the sauce, you'll naturally just be able to do it yourself. It smells so good. So the potatoes are boiling over here. I'm just going to drop them down to medium high. And you'll want to keep checking those. I know they're not ready yet, but you just check them with a knife. And once they go all the way through, once you can pierce through the potato without any resistance, they're finished. All right.
I have a like old fork that I use to test all of my vegetables because it's like the same pointiness all the time. So it's like the one I always dig out so I know exactly what the resistance is.
Your vegetable fork.
Mike Bailey wanted to know what kind of wine did you use in the sauce?
Okay, so I use a dry red wine. I actually use Han Pinot Noir. If any of you have the cookbook, I paired all of the dishes with wines from the Han family vineyard. And I use a lot of the wine and different recipes throughout the book. And I actually brought the wine as well, which I pair with the dish this evening and in the book. It's a Smith and Hook from Han family vineyards.
Very cool. Where are they based out of, or where are their vineyards?
They're in the Monterey region in California. I'll just check the potatoes. I know they're not ready. All right. This is about a third of a cup, so still let it reduce a little bit more. In the meantime, we'll start to prep our mushrooms. And this is for the mushroom saute. You can use any mushroom you wish. I like to use nice gourmet mushrooms, and today I have some chanterelles. I have a king trumpet mushroom. I have a maitake. I think that's how you pronounce it, maitake.
That's how I've heard it, but if it's not, I'll blame my wife. She's the one that told me that's how it's said.
Bad pronunciation. I have a golden oyster and shiitake. But you can use any mushroom that you have. So I'll go ahead and cut these into bite-sized pieces, but all uniform pieces. I really like, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's the main differences in the mushrooms? Is it texture? Is it flavor? What's kind of for those that might not have tried a bunch of mushrooms, what can they kind of expect from the different ones?
Texture, definitely flavor and texture. Some really like to brown a lot nicer. The Maillard reaction is really nice on, say, like the king trumpets or the chanterelles. But they do all have a little bit of a different flavor, but of course they all taste like mushrooms. These are some beautiful mushrooms. Unfortunately, we're getting out of the season now, but I was lucky to find these. But I've seen online that you can now grow oyster mushrooms at home. I don't know if anyone's tried that. Have they tried growing mushrooms at home with the mushroom boxes?
Patricia says that she has.
How did it go? I have yet to grow them myself. So
You can unmute if you want, Patricia, and tell us how it went, or you can put it in the chat if you don't want to talk live. It's up to you.
I have the water ready for blanching the asparagus. So I'm going to blanch them now for 1 minute. And that's just to bring out the vibrant green color, and the salt in the water will naturally season the asparagus. So they're going to go for 1 minute.
Patricia messaged that it was easy to do. And Brad Larson says he is the kit, but has yet to do it yet.
I'll try it then. And I'll let you guys know. I'll mention it out. So I'm just making an ice water bath for the asparagus. This will be just a flash chill.
And what does the ice water bath do for the asparagus?
So this will flash chill the asparagus, and it will lock that really beautiful, brilliant green color from the chlorophyll, and it will stop the cooking process.
If any of you are interested in taking prettier pictures, once you shock the asparagus, or once you chill it after cooking it, set aside 1 or 2 of those to put on the final dish when you take pictures, and it'll be very, very vibrant green and look a lot fresher.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to check the potatoes now because they should be finished. Almost there, not quite. Another minute probably. And then I'll check the bordelaise, which now it's down to 1/4 of a cup, and we are ready to add our beef or veal stock, which is 2 cups. And we'll reduce this by half.
What does reducing the wine separately first do?
It develops the flavor of the wine itself, which you would lose if you mixed it with the broth at the same time. So you want to fortify and really develop that flavor with the wine, and also infuse the shallot and the bay and the thyme into that. So you want to
Awesome.
reduce everything individually. Check the potatoes again. Not quite, almost there. Now with the asparagus, we'll just leave these in here for about 5 minutes, which should completely cool them to the core, but there's no need to leave them in longer than that. Okay, we can finish our mushrooms.
And Mike reminded me on the background, I got yelled at because I forgot to say if you are cooking along or if you're enjoying this, feel free to tag us on social, any of the platforms, hashtag Sous Vide Shot or hashtag Sous Vide Cookalong. We are at the ISVA, so please tag us there. Mike is keeping me in line from behind the scenes, cracking the whip.
Someone has to keep you in line, Jason.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Brad said when you reduce the stock by half, are you reducing it down to 1 cup? He said the recipe says 1/8 of a cup. I am looking at the recipe now to see where it says that.
Let me see. About 1/8 of a cup. You have the recipe there. I don't have the recipe, sorry.
It looks like the
Yeah.
recipe says go from 2 1/4 cups and reduce by half and then to 1/8 cup. I think you meant half to 1 1/8 cups,
1
correct?
1/8 cup, exactly.
Right,
Yes,
right.
exactly what it should be. Thank you. Sorry about that. I hope it doesn't say that in the cookbook. I'll have to check. Okay, so I've strained the potatoes now because they were finished. And we're just going to allow them to strain for 2 to 3 minutes to remove as much of the water as possible. In the meantime, I will go ahead and melt 1/3 cup of butter and 1/3 cup of cream together. We'll warm this up. You do not want to allow it to boil. You just want to warm it so that we can add it to the pomme puree.
Mike asked, what was the first dish you remember cooking?
Me?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I've been cooking for a very long time. But I have to say the most memorable dish probably when I first started as a chef was I made an apple pie, and my whole family was like, you have to be a chef. This pie is the best pie we've ever eaten in our lives. So that's probably not my most memorable, but that was definitely a memorable dish.
Awesome.
All right, so we're gonna heat up the cream and butter. Some low. And now we can take the asparagus out of the ice bath as well. I don't know if you can see them, but see how beautifully green they are.
Look great.
Sorry, I just catch up with myself here. I finished with the mushrooms, and I'm going.
You're not used to having someone in your kitchen asking questions the entire time when you're trying to cook your meals.
Actually, I am. I have an open kitchen on the boat, so I do a lot of cooking classes, and a lot of people come in the kitchen and just hang out all the time. So it's really nice.
That's awesome.
So the potatoes have drained. Now I'm going to rice the potatoes, or rice them. I'll put them through a potato ricer. This makes them really nice and aerated and light and fluffy. You can use a masher, but you won't achieve the same result.
And does the ricer have smaller holes? Is that kind of how it aerates them?
Yes, exactly. So using the pressure, it puts air in between the starch molecules. Essentially, it'll aerate it and gets trapped inside. Makes it nice and light and airy.
Brad Larson was wondering if you had any comments about the source or style of beef or veal stocks.
I actually get my beef and veal stock from a purveyor, and off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of it. I apologize. So no, I don't off the top of my head. Maybe someone else has something that they're using right now they have the name of.
If anyone else has any that you really like, drop them in the chat.
I try to always make my own, of course. Sometimes it's not possible when you're very busy.
You were talking about, being your kitchen's open, people can go in there and check things out. Can you talk a little bit about your yacht company, or if anyone's like, ooh, I think sailing around eating amazing food sounds like a good weekend or a good week. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Absolutely. So my husband and I own a boutique charter yacht brokerage. Its name is East Yachts Limited. We've been in operation since 2005. As yacht crew ourselves, and since we've sailed around the world, we know it very well, very, very well. And we have a client base that we have different yachts that we know and we recommend, and they book all over the world. But as a charter yacht brokerage, you can book any yacht that's available for charter anywhere, any size, different price brackets, different areas. So we do that as well. That's our day and night job. So that's what we do.
What's your favorite place to go sailing?
Well, we've sailed in many places around the world, and I really, really love the Bahamas, where we're currently located at the moment. It's such a beautiful area. It's stunningly beautiful. Turquoise water, amazing underwater sea life. I love it. All right. So you can see here that we have nice, light, airy mash. Pomme puree.
Definitely looks a lot different than after you mash them, and it's kind of that sticky, tacky ball.
It almost looks like spätzle. It's very nice. All right, so I've melted the butter and the cream together, and this just allows it to incorporate quite quickly as opposed to adding cold ingredients. So we'll just pour that in there. And I also have white truffle oil. And you don't necessarily have to add the truffle oil. It's just really nice accent to go with the filet. And you can add any other things you wish as well, like a smoked cheese or something like that.
Mike asked if you used whole butter or clarified butter.
I use whole unsalted butter. I use Kerrygold actually. So I just have a little,
My favorite butter.
yeah, I love it. I have white pepper and salt there, just to season. So now I'm just going to incorporate it. And you'll see that it comes out into a very, very nice, smooth pomme puree. It's lovely. Voila. So I'll just cover this and keep this on low on the stovetop just to keep it warm for service.
So that's something, if you're having like people over for a gathering, you could make it slightly ahead of time and not have to kind of do it when everyone walks in.
Exactly. And you'll see in the cookbook that the majority of the recipes all have advanced preparation. So the idea is that you can prepare all these steps in advance, and then you can set them aside, and then you reheat when it comes time for service. And that's huge in my industry because a lot of us yacht chefs only have certain times to prepare, or the boat might be moving, or guests may be at the beach. They're supposed to come back for dinner at 5 and then they don't come back till 8. So for me to have everything well organized and prepared in advance, and then I'm just able to reheat it, it's really the only way to have an organized kitchen.
Mike wanted to know, would you use the same technique with root vegetables or like celery root, or are those more blender based?
No, you can. It's actually really, really nice. Parsnip and turnip and things like that to aerate. Oh, here's my husband.
It's okay.
He just mentioned in the chat, that looks really good. I might have to go down and try it.
You're just coming to eat.
Very
He's
good.
my taste tester and my sous chef. He says it's amazing. So we'll just put that on low heat in the back. This is still reducing here. Well, it smells delicious. Now for the last thing, we're going to saute our mixed mushrooms. Gotten it wet, won't work now.
And I know the answer to this, but I think everyone else tuning in doesn't. Obviously, you're not currently on your boat cooking, correct?
Oh, I'm not. I'm currently in my parents' kitchen in Florida, in Palm Beach. So I'm very lucky to be able to have a beautiful kitchen like this as well. So I'm going to heat up the olive oil for the mushrooms.
What's the hardest thing about cooking on a yacht?
Probably the movement for sure. Sometimes if we're in big storms and things like that, it can be very difficult. I used to only be on sailing yachts. I now work on a power boat, but it's my first power yacht. And when you're sailing, as you can imagine, 10 to 30 degree angle and having to cook is very difficult. All right, so we're still reducing the sauce and just waiting for the pan to heat up. Does anyone have any questions?
Feel free to drop them in the comments and I will pass them along. I know Mike has been peppering me. How did you get started cooking on yachts?
Actually, because of my sister, who was a sailor, and she was living in the Caribbean, sailing at the time, and she called me they needed a chef for a delivery from Tortola, which is in the British Virgin Islands, to New York. And I was working as sous chef at the time at a restaurant in Whistler in British Columbia. And I just said, oh, of course, I'll come. So I got on the boat and I sailed to New York. I was a chef. I had an amazing time. And after I'd left the boat, a couple months later, the captain called me and asked if I wanted a full-time position. And I just dropped everything. And I was like, yes, I'm coming. And I haven't looked back since.
It's amazing. What's your favorite thing to cook?
Anything sous vide.
You don't have to answer it. We appreciate that, but you don't have to if you don't.
Ask anyone I know. They're like, my guests say you would sous vide yourself if you could, wouldn't you? I've heard that a couple of times. All right, I'll check our pan. Almost there.
What is something that you sous vide that you don't see a lot of other people do that you think maybe they should think about trying?
Well, I do all my canning in the sous vide machine. I don't think a lot of people do that because when I teach sous vide a lot to my clients or friends, a lot of them, I've turned them on to that and I utilize it. And I think it's really great.
How do you do higher temperatures then, like more similar to canning, or are they lower temperatures for a longer time to kind of get similar results?
Lower temperature for a longer time with the similar results.
Nice.
All right, so our pan's ready here. So I'm gonna add the 3 tablespoons of shallots. And you can also do this, this is my pre-advanced prep, but you can saute the mushrooms just right before service as well. In the cookbook, I also do a truffled mushroom duxelle with this. So you do the duxelle in advance, and then you saute up the mushroom pieces with the duxelle, which adds some really nice flavor just before service, before plating. Season this a little bit.
This is making me very hungry.
I'm really hungry. And if you have your potatoes on warm on the stove top, it's recommended just to stir them every once in a while to make sure that they're not sticking to the bottom. Let's check the sauce. It's still reducing. Almost there.
You had mentioned in the recipe the different types of beef. What's kind of your go-to beef to use?
I usually always have a Wagyu or Kobe beef. I really enjoy prime as well. I usually serve prime for lunches and things like that, and then I use Wagyu or Kobe for dinner time.
Jealous.
Come on board. And there's still sauteing there. We're still waiting for this to reduce.
Can you talk a little bit about the differences between the types of beef and why you kind of prefer the ones that you do?
Well, purely because of the marbling, of course, and the quality and tenderness and flavor of the beef. And the Wagyu, I actually use Snake River Farms Wagyu, and I'm really happy with that product. I find it has a really good, consistent product for me. And that's actually located in Texas. No, is it Texas? Snake River Farms?
I think I can't remember. That's the best prime rib that I ever had was a Snake River Farms Wagyu prime rib.
Really, really good. I'm really happy with the product. And the Kobe, more if I'm going to thinly slice and if I'm doing sushi and things like that, where I'm going to torch it, I really like the thin Kobe for that.
The Snake River Farms was the best sponsored post I ever got paid to do because they sent me $800 worth of 2 giant Wagyu prime ribs and then paid me to make a video. I was like, that works for me.
I wish I was around for that. Now the mushrooms are almost done, but they're not quite finished. So I'm just gonna put the truffle butter in and the thyme for seasoning, and then I'm gonna remove it from the heat because we'll heat it back up while we're searing the steak for service. It smells so good in there. Amazing. Ready? And our sauce is looking good, our bordelaise. Just gonna give it a little bit more. And we're almost ready to go into service. So as soon as we finish the sauce, then I'll be taking out the filet and normally I do it on the grill. Actually, my husband, AKA the grill master, he usually does it on the grill for me while I'm doing the plates. But today I'll just be doing it in a grill pan on the stove top, which is cast iron. But you can do it in a saute pan, grill pan, grill. You can use a blowtorch as you wish.
I think Mike is jealous. He commented to me to ask you to talk about the yacht competition that's coming up.
Oh, this is very exciting. So Jason will be joining me in Antigua for the Antigua Yacht Charter Show, where I'm head coordinator at the chef competition this year. I'm very honored that they've asked me, and it will be 30 yachts take part. There's 3 different categories. It's 3 days where we'll be judging on board the yachts as they compete for first, second, and third it's a concourse to chef of the Caribbean. It's very exciting. It's competitions I used to do back in the day when I was younger.
I'm looking forward to it. Should be a great time, and I'm going to be doing my best not to embarrass Chef Lee while I'm there. She invited me.
Not to embarrass you, Jason. All right, so our bordelaise is reduced. So now I'm just going to strain. And now we've really developed the flavor profile here with the reduction as well as infusing the herbs with the shallot. I'm just going to wash my pan because now I'm going to make a roux to thicken the bordelaise.
Pat wanted to know what's the date and location of the competition.
The competition is December 4th through the 9th, and it's in Antigua in the Caribbean.
Is there any favorites showing up that I need to be aware of, or is it better to go in blind and not know much about the yachting chef scene outside of the #1 yachting chef in the world, which is of course you?
Oh, Jason, I wish. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. I will send you a list of the yachts. There's some pretty amazing boats that are going to be there, from anything from 80 feet to 256 feet. A huge range. So here I'm just going to make the roux. We have equal weight butter and flour. So 1.5 teaspoons of butter, And 1 tablespoon of flour. So you want to whisk for about 2 minutes to make the roux, so it forms a paste. Nope, probably can't see very well.
Are you looking to get any color on the roux, or are you trying to keep it light?
I'm keeping it low so it still remains a blonde roux, but I want to cook it just so you don't have the taste of the flour. You want to cook the flour just for about 2 minutes. I never end up cooking it for 2 minutes. I'm usually too impatient, but hasn't been 2 minutes yet.
Yes, we'll say yes, just for you. When I did the sous vide class at CREA, like the 3 or 4 day sous vide training they put on, like AJ is like, here is your stopwatch that you have to stare at. She's like, everything is timed. You're like, 30 seconds is a lot longer than I thought 30 seconds was.
Long, I know, isn't it? It's amazing. Wow, that's amazing that you did that. That would have been so much fun. When was that?
I did it February of 2019. It was like the second to last thing I did before the world shut down.
Yeah, before the world ended.
Yeah, like Bruno wasn't involved. He was on virtual because he had just got back from China and was self-quarantining. And we're like, oh, that's weird. Never heard of that before. And then a month later, we're like, okay, now we know what that is.
Yeah. Isn't it
It was very fun and worthwhile. CREA puts on a good program, and it was fun cooking like salmon 12 different ways and then like tasting them all side by side. You could see like, oh, here's what the different brines, like dry brine, wet brine, doing the high low temperatures, doing the all low, like kind of the different types of cooking, or like they're very similar, but side by side you can taste it.
Oh, that's that's amazing idea. I would love to do that.
And just hanging out with AJ for 3 or 4 days is like, I always learn a ton every time I'm around her. So it's great.
Yeah, she's amazing. So we'll just cook this until we get the viscosity that we want, the thickness. It's usually about 2 to 3 minutes. In the meantime, so I don't stir that for 3 minutes straight, I will get the filet mignon ready out of the sous vide bath.
Mike wanted me to remind everyone that we also have our next cook-along lined up. Looking forward to that one. Another very talented chef coming on. We have Chef Tiago Perino will be on. That's coming up next month. Should be another really good time. He always does really innovative, cool things as well. If you're a paying champions member, you get it for free, just like all of our other cook-alongs. You should get a coupon code from Mike probably this weekend. And if you are interested in doing a one-off with that, you, I think, are on our mailing list now, everyone. And so you'll get an alert when that's coming out. Should be another great time. Mike can probably tell me what he's cooking. I should know, and I'm sure I've been told multiple times, but I tend to forget. I don't listen to Mike, you know.
All right, so we have the filet here. I'm just gonna pat it dry. You wanna pat it dry just so you get a nice crust on the outside, because if it's too moist, you won't get as nice of a crust with the mayo reaction.
Mike says we actually don't know what Tiago's cooking yet, so I'm in the clear. Whew, dodged a bullet there. He's at the World Food Championships in Texas. There's a big cooking competition that both him and Lisa Keys are participating in. And so he has been preparing for that. And I'm sure Lisa is as well. Need to touch base with her. She always does an amazing job.
Now we'll heat up the grill pan, and in the meantime, I'm also going to heat up the mushrooms and the asparagus and I'm actually going to sear the steak first, then we'll move the asparagus. Our bordelaise is a perfect consistency now. You probably can't see that. But just want it so it's coats the back of the spoon. I'm just going to keep this warm here. And we can also finish it. This is entirely up to you, but finish with cognac. Just gives a nice flavor, and a bit of oyster sauce as well. Nice, umami rich flavor there. It just really rounds out the sauce. But that's optional.
I did some of Kevin and Carmen Ku's recipes, and I got oyster sauce for that. And I was shocked how much I just use like a tad like that in a lot of different dishes now, because it just adds great background flavor.
Such good flavor. It's amazing. Hot. And I also have a splatter pan, so I don't burn myself.
Do you have any preferred knives that you use, or are you not particular about your knife wear?
I'm very particular about my knife wear. I'm actually, my husband purchased these for me in Copenhagen. And they are, you know, I don't know the name of it, but they're Japanese, they're Damascus. It's the same steel that they use for samurai swords.
It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. I'm very lucky. This one. So they're all designed for me, which is very nice. It's the best gift for a chef.
Warren sounds like a keeper, you know, I mean, despite coming in and stealing the food every once in a while.
Almost done. Yes, we're good.
Mike wanted to know, do you catch food off the boat and eat it? Do you, how's that work?
Yeah. Anytime we catch fresh fish, we have sushi, of course. And it's always welcome to catch fish on the boat, on the yacht.
Yes.
We even have a fighting chair on the back of the boat that I currently work on, Pegasus. A fish fighting chair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to turn this fan on. I apologize if you won't be able to hear me that well. Can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Turn it down one. This is a new pan. I just got it, so it's smoky a little bit more than my old one. So I'm going to sear the filet and then we'll just let it rest. In the meantime, we'll heat up all the other vegetables and starch. Does anyone have any questions about anything?
If If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, everyone, and I will pass them along. What's your, or you said the Chilean sea bass was your favorite fish to sous vide?
Yeah, I love Chilean sea bass, but I really also like to do cod and salmon. Well,
What's your go-to fish temperature?
I usually do it at 45 or 49 Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I have to look it up. It depends on the
113 to 120.
Yes. Thank you.
I have my calculator, my temperature calculator handy at all times because I always have to go back and forth.
I'm just gonna open the door. That pan's really.
She's used to having the sea breeze clear out all the smoke from the kitchen, and yeah.
Yes, I do a Cookalong in the fire department now, so that would probably happen.
Yeah, I set off my smoke alarm during a cook-along once as well, so I can relate to that.
I won't feel bad if I do.
No. And you reheated the filet, right? So it was hot.
Yeah, I did. Well, I just took it from the sous vide bath and now we're searing it.
Perfect. Warren says this is usually his job.
That's my grill master. He cooks with me every day. All right.
Is that a cast iron?
Yes. It's really smoky. It's new, so I should have used it before. All right. Now we can reheat all the different components of the dish. And as I mentioned before, the preparation in advance, it would be everything except for obviously searing the filet or taking it out of the sous vide bath. And then when it comes time for service, we're going to reheat everything and then we plate.
Pat wanted to know, how do you know when it's been grilled long enough?
The filet?
Yeah.
Well, the filet, because it's been in the sous vide bath, you already know that it's cooked to perfection. So whenever you're grilling or you're searing it afterwards, you're just finishing it. And that's to get the really nice exterior, the Maillard reaction with the nice crunch on the outside and to build that additional flavor as if you barbecued the steak as opposed to just sous videing it and searing it.
Right. So you just want a crust on it, but you don't want to, basically you don't want to cook through the inside anymore. You just want it to be nice and golden brown.
Exactly, exactly. You don't want to, unless you want a medium or a medium well steak, you want to keep it at the medium rare. You just want to sear it, like flash sear it so it has a nice exterior. I'm just going to give the olive oil for the asparagus. And of course, with the asparagus, you could grill them, you could use butter, you can just heat them up in the microwave as you wish, but I just like to finish mine on the saute pan because I like to keep everything in front of me so I can constantly monitor it prior to service.
Makes sense. I'm jealous of the multiple burners spread all throughout the kitchen.
I love it. I love the induction, the individual one you can just put next to you. It's really nice, especially if you're doing sauces. And like in my galley on the boat, I have mullet burners behind me, but my prep station is here. So if I have one close to me that I need to constantly monitor, it's really ideal.
Something's not boiling over behind you that you're not aware of.
Which happens, I can tell you. All right, so let's heat up the asparagus. Of course, I always have to make sure my asparagus are all pointing in the right direction. They're all uniform. It makes it easier to plate when you're having to plate and you want it to be really, really hot for a guest. So this season, and just season a little bit if you need to at all, because you already seasoned the water. You salted the water when you blanched. All right, so while it's just heating up, now that our steak is rested,
That looks amazing.
yeah. Beautiful. Now here you can portion to any size you wish. I personally like to slice them into about 1/4 inch thick slices, just to give it a more kind of visual appeal for the guests. But some of my guests, of course, as well, like to have more 4 to 6 ounce portion. You can see how beautiful pink it is. So tender.
It's got great coloring.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful it is.
It's great.
And it smells divine as well. Everything is ready, so we'll move on to the plating. As I said, anyone have any questions before I move to plating?
People are just talking about how good it looks. That seems to be the consensus that they're hungry.
I know my husband's hungry.
He's like, get on with it. Come on, come on.
It's gonna be over. Nice plate here. So we have the pomme puree here, which is nice and hot. Just like to put it on an angle, just to showcase everything in the dish. Next we have the asparagus.
Asparagus is one of those things I feel like I always plate it looking very ugly. I haven't figured out how to get around that.
Yeah, it's like they're like straight little soldiers. I know it's difficult. And you can see this one that we peeled, how it has that beautiful kind of green. It's probably hard to see, but
Oh yeah.
looks nice.
Carmen asked if you were using a pork tenderloin instead of beef, how long would you sous vide that? Do you have a time and temperature you would use?
Yeah, pork is pork in a couple of months. 57. It's also 57. 135. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't want to quote myself and then I'd be wrong.
I would do it between 137 and 140 for 2 to 3 hours to pasteurize it probably, but
And I do it 57. I usually use Culinary pork, which is very nice, as the sharp pork from the UK. And I do it at 57, and it's for 3 to 4 hours, maybe 5 to 6 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
yes.
Okay, so we have the filet here. And mushrooms. Smells divine. Just beautiful. And we have our sauce. Now, I usually serve the sauce in a small sauce pot just because I like for them to be able to pour the sauce themselves onto the plate. But it's also a beautiful colored sauce to accent on a white plate.
That said, 141 in your recipe book has your sous vide pork tenderloin, and there it says 135 Fahrenheit, 57 Celsius for 3 to 4 hours.
Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate you.
Pat is on it over there.
I will have to read the book before I do another cook along.
Brad asked, he's always wondered about the blue water galleys. Do they use salt/ocean water for cleanup?
Salt water for cleanup in the galley?
That's what he says. Yes, or he was asking.
Definitely not. It may be a salty galley, but not that salty. No, we just do regular, as you would a commercial kitchen. That's kind of how we operate. So here we have our final dish. Voila.
Oh, that looks great. That looks much better than the leftover Chinese I'm having for dinner.
Jason, if you were only here, you could taste it.
I'm very jealous.
So I'll take a picture and send this to you as well because it looks very nice. And voila, that's it. That's the recipe from the cookbook. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, any final questions, anyone? And give Chef Lee some love in the comments. Let her know how she did. That was great. I love watching masters of their craft go to work. So let us know in the comments if you have some final questions and stuff, and we will pass them along.
Please do.
What's your what's kind of like the crowd favorite on the yacht that people like every time?
Actually, the filet mignon is one of the favorites. Definitely one of the favorites. I have a lot of people say that it's just the best steak they've ever eaten. The sous vide does an amazing way of tenderizing and really infusing all the flavors of the marinade.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's hard for me to go to steakhouses a lot of the time now after knowing that I can make it at home.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to eat out, period.
Pat says a beautiful job. She's so hungry now. John says hope his turns out as well as that one. Great job to you. Wendy says the plate looks amazing. A lot of love. No questions though. I think you just did too good of a job explaining everything and going over it.
Oh, thank you everyone for joining. I greatly appreciate it. And Jason and Mike, thank you so much. It was a wonderful experience and I look forward to being able to do it again with both of you.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on. It was great. Always great to reconnect and touch base again and see you do some amazing work. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. And if everyone wants to show your faces on camera, give a wave to Chef Lee and tell her thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Bye. That was great. Thank you. Hi, Nova Scotia.
Hi, Nova Scotia.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us at another ISVA Cookalong. Like I said, we're doing another one next month. We'll have more information about that. If you want access to the previous ones and all of our videos from our conferences and summit, you can check out the Champions of Sous Vide Network. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up, and we have a showcase next month about holiday foods. Always doing fun, interesting things with fun, interesting people. So we'll be in touch about all that. And Chef Lee, thank you so much again for taking time out. And I had a great time touching base again. I'll see you in Antigua in a month.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nova Scotia.
Bye. Thanks for joining, guys.
Bye, everyone.